Good morning, how are you? Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do a little panel discussion about work, about moving. It's myself, Martin from Goebel, David from David Stine, and Ben from Shelf to Table. So we're going to hop on together and talk about life. So there we are. So I'm going to wait for them to come on. And we'll get started. Savannah Custom Wood Company, what's up? J Woodworking, what's up? Cedar Ford, how are ya? So, as I like to do to kill time, where are you all from? Yes, I'm back. I had to move, which is what we're going to talk about, and that was a lot, man. Moving was a lot. So, finally got that done. It took damn near a year. And it's done. I know Ben moved twice. David moved, and Martin moved in a way as well. So here we are. So I was just talking to them, and I'm waiting on them to come on. So let me shoot them a message. What's up, Ben? What's up, my
Hey,
brother?
Rob.
I'm
How are
waiting
you?
on Mark. I'm good. How are you? I'm waiting on the other two to come on. I'm sure there was a bunch of questions just now, and I hopped on and um, wasn't even answering. How's your morning going?
Can't complain. It's getting hot here.
It's hot here.
At least it's not cold, you know. I'm
Right,
okay with that.
right. Okay, so are they? Let me see if they're here. Not yet. So everything else is good. Work is good. Cool
Very
projects.
busy. I'm very
All right, Ben,
busy.
come on in. Busy is good.
Yes. Happy with that.
So, do you find that you're busier in Chicago than you were in New York?
Yes.
Why is
And
that?
I don't know if if that has relevance to where I am or not. I think it's probably just the growth in the business.
Right.
Chicago's also a little bit more manageable of a city than New York is. Um, and you're kind of a bigger fish. You know, if that makes sense. I also don't have to compete with you.
You never compete with me. I'm trying to get. All right, here we go.
Hey, Ben.
What's
Hey,
Hey,
Dave.
good?
Robert. Hey, guys.
Martin should be on in 2 seconds.
All right. So is Ben just telling you about how busy he is in Chicago?
Yes, I was there a little while ago. He's crazy busy, but that's good. I was asking the difference between is he busier in Chicago than he is here? But I think in Chicago I think there he has better relationships. Proximity
Yeah,
from.
Ben would have to speak to that, but all good things come from the Midwest, and everybody just knows that. So like when you move to the Midwest, you're automatically like, it's like a higher level.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of have to agree with that. Maybe not all good things come from the Midwest, but that like
and Maine.
yeah, and Maine, the extreme Northeast. So to get to the question, or to really answer the question, I mean, I guess because growing the business is much more manageable in Chicago than it was in New York City. I think that's one of the reasons that we're so busy, you know, and that we have room to grow, we have revenue to grow, and we're not like,
What's up, Mark? I just sent you an invite to join.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you're trying to get Martin on there. Man, if it's not AutoCAD and a CNC, Martin doesn't know how to use it, you know? Funny.
I'm see if I can send this to you again, Martin.
Hey, how's that AC working up there, Ben?
Oh, we don't have AC. I have a 5-foot fan next to me, if that counts. You know?
Hey, I'll tell you guys a quick story while we're waiting for Martin, but Ben was nice enough to take me out on a boat tour in February in Chicago on his boat, and there was fucking AC that day. I can
Yeah.
Ben took me on a boat ride too in Manhattan.
Oh, nice. No, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Okay, Martin, you should the invite should come. Send it to me. I sent it to you. I'll try to send it again.
Ben's being from Maine, you know, he can't live somewhere where he can't get on his boat every morning. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been less of an activity in the last 10 months since I've had a baby, but I try to get out there at least once a week. Actually, when Robert was in town 2 weeks ago, the batteries were dead. It was kind of embarrassing.
There he is.
What's up? I'll try to send it again.
Ben's being from Maine, you know, he can't live somewhere. There we go.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah. All right. Hey, Martin.
Good morning.
Morning.
So should we introduce ourselves, or how do you?
Yeah, you start.
I'm Robert in New York, Sawyer, woodworker, old machine junk collector, and I'm New York City style of BlackLumberJack.
All right, I'm Dave Stine, Dave Stine Furniture, in the Midwest here, not far from St. Louis. Build furniture, manage a forest, do timber cutting, whatever. All just sort of my own thing.
Go ahead, Ben.
I'm Ben Rioux in Chicago, where we make furniture and pretty much anything else you want in Chicago, and yeah, professional floor sweeper.
I'm Martin Goebel. I'm currently in Chicago, but our production shop is based in St. Louis, Missouri, about 40 miles from Dave, and we create furniture of all kinds.
Okay, so Martin Chicago now, we all have moved in some way or another. So I like Ben. Ben was probably the first one to move. Ben moved from Newark to Chicago, and there's other information. I'll let him say that if you want to say it. But I'd like him to talk about the move. I think David just moved, bought a building, right?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years ago we moved over here, but yeah, we bought a bigger building that's pretty close to the original shop, but yeah.
Okay, and Martin just moved residences, and we'll see what that's like as well. So Ben, how is your transition from Newark to Chicago, and how did that affect your business and life?
Well, it's been good. I love New York City. It's the best city in the world. But we were running out of room to grow, and my wife's family's from here, so we wanted to start a family, so we did. And Chicago's been great for us. You know, I retain most of my customers in the East Coast and West Coast, really all of them everywhere. And I was a little fearful that I might lose my regular designers by moving locations, but it hasn't changed anything for us. It's actually been pretty fruitful for them to know that we're 800 miles away, actually, because they can't like come and break our balls. If they want to come and see stuff, they have to come to Chicago, and then you know it's important, you know. So, you know, and in that amount of time, we've been able to grow very fruitfully. So we've been branching out and doing a lot of construction jobs, not just fine furniture. You know, we've been building outdoor structures, pergolas. We've ventured into steel stuff. We partner with with a fabrication shop nearby. So we're still been. I'm sorry.
How did you get into pergolas?
You know, somebody asked me to make them one. It was a furniture customer, and they couldn't get anybody else to do it, and we did it. And then we're like, hey, this can, you know, let's see. And then somebody visited their house, like, I want the same thing. And now we have 6 of them going right now. So,
Wow.
and they're like, you know, they're big structures. We're building one in Chicago right now that's 40 by 50 and 12 feet tall. It's really, you know, it's actually bigger than our home. So, and almost fully covered. So, I don't know. We're just kind of going for it, you know. And the permitting's been really easy in Chicago for this kind of structure. They have like an easy permit situation, so they don't even have to come and inspect it. They just have to look at the plan, make sure that it's legit.
What's a permit?
That's
So
my
like a
customer's
true
problem,
country
not so
boy.
much mine. So we're just, you know, listen, whatever revenue stream we can make, you know, and as long as we can make something safely and, you know, and that the customer wants, it's great. And then we have a lot of international projects. I say a lot. We have a couple of international projects. An entire restaurant in Madrid that just left on a container last week. And another one in Paris, and then hopefully another one in the Caribbean. So, you know, being in Chicago, we don't really have a lot of customers in Chicago. Most of them are elsewhere. So that kind of you know, we just finished a big job in last year that we're installing, and now it's kind of time to breathe. So, and do some, you know, catch up for our little projects.
So all these bigger international jobs, did it come from designers or people just contact you like, hey, I like your work?
Well, like the European ones, those are both from restaurateurs that I've done projects with before, like in Miami, and they're opening more restaurants elsewhere. So that's where those come from. And the other ones, designers. That's where they've been, you know, it's kind of repeat customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave, how did your move go? You moved from what to what? How much square footage did you gain?
Well, so I've moved quite a few times during my career. I started this business in Washington, D.C. back in 1995. And then I moved into a regular shop in D.C., basically a whole bunch of row house garages in 1997. And then when we moved back to the farm in 2002, I converted a 3,600 square foot barn into a workshop. And so then we were there up until 2019, I guess. And then more commercial style facility came available that was only about a mile from my house. So we went ahead and bought that. So now we're in 13,000 square feet, which is just a lot nicer. Yeah, it's a freestanding building, sort of out in the middle of nowhere, but along a major highway. So we've got room now for a showroom. So we keep finished pieces there in the showroom, and we have designers come in from St. Louis, surrounding areas, and still have good clients in New York and LA that come in from time to time. And then we also have our production facility right here. So our main workroom is about 8,000 square feet. And then our really rough workroom where we do all the heavy dust making and noise making is about 4,000 square feet. And then our showroom is like 1,000 square feet. And then we still have the old shop back at the other place where we've got 2 dry kilns where we can do about 4,000 board feet at a time. We keep our Lucas mill and our Wood-Mizer sawmill set up over there. And then in the old 3,600 square foot shop, we still have a full paint booth where if we need to spray lacquers or something, we'll do it over there. And then we also, have just tons of storage over there, about 10,000 square feet of storage for rough lumber, dry lumber. And since my business, we have about 500 acres of timber plus or minus around here. It's been in my family for 5 generations. As trees go down and lumber becomes available, that's when we saw lumber. So it necessitates having quite a bit of storage around for dry stuff. So we try to keep ahead of our inventory and keep stuff sawed and then dried and then cataloged and inventoried and photographed so that we know what we've got all the time. But it's a lot of overhead. So anyway, that's the basic footprint. We seem to be getting bigger and bigger all the time.
How far physically apart are these?
It's about a mile, so it's not too bad. You wouldn't drive a forklift between them, but putting stuff on the truck and trailer and going from one to the other is not too bad. We've got a forklift at both facilities, so we keep most of our dry stock over at the old facility, and then that way our new shop can stay sort of clean and clear for actual projects.
Well, when you said that, you wouldn't drive a forklift between them, but me and Ben might.
No, you would. Yeah, you would.
Martin, you just moved from St. Louis to Chicago. What is that like having a commute to work?
Well, so about the same time that Dave purchased his building, we did a similar move within St. Louis. So about summer 2019, we then also moved from about 6,500 square feet in the city of St. Louis, then to a different part of the city that is now about 15,000. And then the outside space is about another 12,000 with fully fenced in parking lot. So we can drive a forklift there, which is great. And then I'm trying to think, I bought out 2 business partners at that time. So now, I guess for the last couple of years, I've owned all of it. And now recently, our shop manager, Jason, has come on as an equity partner, which has been great. A lot of people here on Instagram see him doing a lot of work. He's really the anchor in the shop. And the biggest thing for me is I was traveling about 120 days a year. And that was everywhere, mainly East Coast, West Coast, Europe, and Asia with clients. And, St. Louis is a little bit more difficult to get in and out of. Not to mention, it's a little smaller market. I think that probably everybody on here is really working with, say, the top 10 markets in the country. For the majority of our work, in the case of Ben, not doing a whole lot of work in Chicago yet. But, he's in Aspen, he's, East Coast, West Coast, all of that. So the accessibility to those markets for us is great. We're still very active in St. Louis, still work with a lot of the designers there, great people. But being in an ability or in a location which we can expand and then also focus on a couple of projects we have going up here right now, that was the big thing for me. As a lot of people here and obviously back at our shop know, I'm not a day-to-day woodworker at this point. I'm on the very front end, very back end of planning stages, and then also just working with clients, contracts, classic business ownership. We did about a maybe 14-month renovation on our building there in St. Louis, and unfortunately back in March we had a storm come through and tear about a 20-foot by 20-foot section off of our roof. So we're dealing with that still. And then about a week later, hail damaged the entire other 15,000 square feet of the roof. So it looks like some pretty significant construction now coming up before the winter, hopefully. But that's all running through insurance right now. But, being in 2 different locations, there's a lot of juggling. but as opposed to being out of St. Louis 120 days a year, now I'm essentially in St. Louis about 120 days a year. And it's been pretty good. You know, I do a lot of Amtrak from St. Louis to Chicago and vice versa.
How long is that
the other
trip?
night. I'm sorry?
How long is that trip?
5 hours, 15 minutes. And that's, if you drive it, it's almost exactly that. There's a nice bar car. The only issue that I've had was there was a bomb threat on the train on my way back last weekend. So I got off in middle of Illinois about midnight and had a little extended trip. But other than that, it's been good. So.
All right, cool. My move took me about a year. I went from the yard I was in, which was 60 miles from Manhattan. I'm now 80 miles from Manhattan. And I went from, I guess, 2 to 3 acres. Now I'm on 8. And the drive is an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes each way. And it's kind of doable because I was able to take a building on a property and kind of turn it into a living space. So when I go, I could spend the night and it doesn't make the drive as bad. But I now have to worry about shoveling, plowing snow, cutting grass, all of this stuff I never worried about before because I just show up in the yard, the landlord did it, do work and go home. So having to manage a larger property creates a lot of distractions. Now I got like space, I put a form in, that's another distraction. So the move was a lot. It was very, very expensive. And it took a lot more time than I ever thought it would. And it was very, very stressful. So I stopped doing this to do that. And now that that is over, I'm back. And it's still going to take me probably another 6 months to get right. But I'm happy I made the move. So if anyone, oh, David, I can't hear you. David, your sound's off.
Sorry, man. No, I was just going to say, following along on social media and watching that move, it was a fantastic move for you. I love that new space. And I think we all know how stressful it can be to move, but at the end of the day, you look back and, you got to do those kind of things to keep your business growing. Yep. And, you'd sacrifice in the short term for long-term growth. I mean, I think Martin's right on point there. Go up to Chicago where you can do your thing and still have your base of operations in St. Louis. And, Ben made that great big move and was able to do it with alacrity and really didn't lose a step. And I think, yours was a little tougher. You had such a big footprint in your old spot, and then you were moving quite a ways out of your comfort zone. But I mean, now the place looks great, and you've got the room you need to do what you need to do.
Yeah, when I was in my yard, we used to get wood every day, and I thought that was great because it was kind of like free. So I get the wood, I cut it, and I actually grew in space, and that was fine until it was time to move.
Yeah. Well, there's no free lumber. Everybody knows. Somebody gives you something. Many times it's a white elephant.
Right. Okay, Steel Gray said, I desperately want a bigger shop, but I dread the day I have to move. Dude, you need to move now.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's always
one good thing when we did our move is Eli's our shop foreman now, and he just basically makes sure work runs through the shop properly and everything. And I'm like you, Robert. I'm a hoarder, and I have like this sympathetic streak in my psyche for old machines and basically junk and garbage. And if Eli would let me do it, I would fill up the new shop with stuff like I did the old shop. But I put him in charge, so this new shop is really clean, and we can actually do work, which is amazing.
Very nice. But still, Grant, I want to say to you, and I think we all, the four of us can attest to this, don't think that you're saving money by working in that little shop. You're not. You're losing money because you can't grow. And Martin went from 8 to 13,000, and he's still looking to grow.
Yeah.
You're busy, you're making money, get out of that place, man, and get a bigger shop.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been to Ben's shop, and that is like the dream. What a beautiful spot. And then there's also so many other supporting type industries around the area that just makes it so Ben can kind of do what he needs to do no matter what project somebody throws at him. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's all about relationships, and he's in close proximity to a lot of fabricators. We can get stuff done. They're like a few steps away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for where we are, and generally the city of Chicago makes a lot of things. So for that reason, you know, it's great. And while we're at it, I might as well tell you, we got a new shop that we're going to move to in November. So we're moving again. So for all those people dreading moving, we got an 18,000 square foot shop with an 18,000 square foot roof. That's going to have, well, I learned from you guys that we're going to put greenhouses on the roof. So it's a concrete drive-up roof with 170 parking spaces.
Wow.
And so we're actually, every time we move something in the shop now, we think about, you know, if we need to use it by November. And if we don't, it gets abandoned, you know. And, okay, stack it up, start throwing stuff away now, like get a 30-yard dumpster, start filling them up. You know, we're going to need 10 of them. You know, if it came from Jersey, it's probably going in the trash. You know, we had to be, I have my shop foremans in the back pointing at himself. And, you know, we look forward, can't wait to move again. So, because we know that, you know, it's a new challenge. We're not going to be renting anymore. We got creative. We couldn't afford a new shop, but we got a defaulted tax property that needs lots of work. And we just did 8 months worth of paperwork and purchased it. So,
Congrats.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We're excited about that.
Your new shop is going to be also in Chicago.
Yeah. We're moving to the west side. We're moving from the south side to the west side. So now we're actually equidistant between Midway and O'Hare. So, which is convenient for my customers and, you know, really excited about it. So
that's great.
Looking forward to seeing.
Yeah. But on that note, guys, I'd love to stay all morning, but as I told Rob before, I do have, we have an installation coming. The truck is fully loaded now. So
perfect. Have a good one. And I think we'll see if we can go for another 15, 20 minutes. And when you hop off, if someone wants to come on, we'll jump on.
Great. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother.
Take care,
Have a good one.
Hey, Ben.
Bye.
Yeah, be safe.
Nature's Beauty Tree Service. My shop is 25,000 square feet, and I'm out of room. Yes.
Yeah.
You have a lot of stuff, man. You got to get that right. And if you want to hop on here, you can.
Well, I think Martin might agree, but I mean, you could always use more space. I know, Martin, you just did a deal where you sawed quite a bit of lumber at your new shop, and it stacks up. And I mean, that stuff just takes up room. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, you know, in the case of bringing more lumber in, you're absolutely correct. There's always the need for more space. And I think, you know, the thing that always gets me is, you know, you hold a lot of extra empty space. And, you know, if you're doing a corporate interior or you're doing a restaurant or something like that, you physically cannot do a 10,000 square foot restaurant in 10,000 square feet of space that has machinery, it has wood, it has all of that. You know, there's a significant portion of our shop that has nothing in it, specifically so that, you know, we're able to do some of these other projects or maneuver some of the lumber around. Inevitably, you always need the stack that's on the bottom. And unless you're going to open the door and then just start throwing stuff outside, you know, it just doesn't become practical. And I mean, inevitably, there's sort of like that Jenga moment where you're trying to lift something up and pull it out. And, you know, but having the extra square footage is a temptation for sure about loading it full of shit that you don't need. But, you know, the empty space is really what you need in my experience. And, you know, it's something we try our best not to fill up.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I think it's the empty space is really what you need, and having discipline to keep it empty is tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, and Martin, to your point, we doing a job for PayPal. I got 38 screens outside on the street right now that we just finished tying down.
Right.
So you're right. Had that been done inside, when the truck comes, it goes from inside to inside.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much of that where, I think the post-COVID world and how people are buying and what they're buying, and, the public spaces now, kind of being hit or miss, whereas there was a lot of bread and butter for us in the past with restaurants, corporate interiors, places where people needed a lot of furniture. Where now, you'd have one client come and they'd take 300-400 pieces of furniture all in one spot. So you'd hold inventory on it for only a short period, and then it would be out. But, we're talking a lot these days about accessibility to the furniture, whereas I think that, I don't know about your background, Robert, but I know that Dave and I didn't grow up in places, in homes that would have, a $30,000 dining table.
Neither did I.
Don't want to be presumptuous.
That's right.
You are a New York boy, you never know.
No. I'm from Louisiana.
Here we go.
I'm aware.
I'm from I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm from Louisiana, right, outside of New Orleans. And to me, a trailer didn't have a bad connotation until I saw it on TV. We had trailers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so in that note, we're working a lot these days on trying to bring product into the accessibility range for, I guess, a larger audience. Whereas, the ultra high end custom, it has been actually very good to us now over the pandemic. Whereas, instead of doing a single restaurant, we'll do a single piece of furniture. And there's no shortage of that. And Dave and I being in such close proximity, Ben and I mean, there's probably 3 other really great furniture makers here in Chicago that I can think of offhand. I think the overwhelming thing is there's so much work out there, and people get. I hear often on Instagram about people worrying about cannibalism, and my client, your client, there's so much work out there if you're doing good work. And we've been able to weather a lot of the pandemic just with these really stratosphere type of pieces. But I guess we always got into the whole furniture game for, being able to cater to people who are a little bit more mainstream. And so, in the case of having a larger shop now, we're looking to now use a lot of that square footage to do inventory, to do more production run type of furniture. 100, 200 pieces in a shot, but now using that economy of scale to drop the prices of them so that now it does become accessible. So the $6,000 or $7,000 table is now in the $3,000 range, but you cannot do that without square footage. You cannot do that in a lot of ways. Dave would probably disagree with me, but I don't think you can do it without doing a lot of CNC work, because you're taking that human element out of some very intricate components. And I don't know how to do that outside of having a lot of square footage, a lot of ability to inventory things even temporarily, and then go with it, because now we're taking that same cycle that we would have used within the larger single project kind of range, the 300-400 pieces that go one place. And now we're doing the same thing, but we're parting it out to a lot of people. So that's going to be coming up here in probably the next 4 or 5 months, hopefully before Christmas. And that's really what we're kind of focusing on at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with Martin about whenever you can line a product or a process. Martin's been at the forefront of like small shop using CNCs and trying to componentize the production methodology so that you can actually do a lot more stuff with a lot smaller and more nimble workforce, which I think is pretty impressive. We come at it from a little bit different direction. I grew up just doing handwork only. I don't have any background in the newer style of designs and production, and it's a hindrance from time to time. But I think what it is like it allowed us to develop a little bit of a different niche. If you really like the idea that we're doing handwork and we're harvesting the lumber from our own land and stuff like that, you might gravitate more towards my business. but then we don't do veneers, and we don't do inlays, and we don't do ceruse finishes or change colors for designers. If you like natural real wood, then you'll like what we do. And if that's not your bag, that's cool too. But, we pretty much specialize in big flat surfaces. And whether you want one table or 300 tables, we do plenty of jobs of both kinds. But it's for us, it's more just simple furniture and natural furniture. And I think that's a good space that we've been able to carve out for ourselves.
All right, cool. So, I think we can't do this with Martin, but Dave, you want to give us a little tour?
Sure, yeah. Well, let's see. I'm sitting here. The new shop has a, let me turn this around. The new shop has a break room, which is nice. So I'm here in the break room. I'll just kind of get around. We got a little kitchenette going on and break room table. The showroom is here, and it's kind of a disaster right now. We had a photo shoot this morning. We were shooting this new ebonized ash desk, and we got an ash table here. And then the guys just took off to deliver a oak library table. But this is our showroom. We normally keep it set up pretty nice. Stephanie's desk is over there. She's in the office 4 days a week. So this is the basic showroom layout here.
How big is your team, David?
What's that?
How big is your team?
Right now, there's 3 of us full-time, and then we have a part-time guy, and then Stephanie's full-time as well. But 3 of us full-time in the shop, and then Stephanie is full-time in the office, my wife, business partner. So then we have the paint room and shipping area. So in here, we'll do, I say it's a paint room. It's more like a finish room. We bring everything in here for finishing, rubbing out. If we do any spraying, we'll pull the curtains. We very seldom do that. It's mostly hand rubbed oil around here. And then we pack and ship out of the big door here.
Okay,
So,
let me ask you, why,
what's that?
like Martin, I spray. I used to do oil, but I don't do that anymore. I spray 100% of the time. And I think, Martin, do you do mostly spraying?
We do mostly sprayed, but finishing with us is always a toolbox in the sense of the right tool for the right job, the right application.
For sure.
And depending on what the client is looking for with regard to maintenance, the type of material that's going to now accept the sprayed or the oiled finish a little bit better. The wood is a fragrance. Any number of these things. We do gravitate toward the sprayed these days, but I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday out in Santa Barbara about a table for his barn, more or less, kind of like a party room, in which it's some of this poplar that we ended up getting our hands on that was still World War II surplus.
Very nice stuff.
30-inch wide, 16-foot long, aircraft grade, perfect lumber that's now 70, 80, 90 years old. And in the case of that, it's rough sawn. So the idea of spraying some sort of heavy lacquered finish over that is a crime. So in that case, we're doing an oil finish, buffed wax, things like that. And you still have that tactile experience with the wood, which I think is a lot of what Dave is using the oil for, because you do have that raw, natural experience.
Yeah, and I would agree with Martin. It's a toolbox, and you got to go with what's going to work with your clients. I am pretty biased in this kind of stuff, and what I really do is I try to steer my clients towards 2 or 3 things that I know will work, and that I know will work for them, and that have worked for us a lot in the past. I think a lot of people want to just get crazy and experimental with finishing. And that's great if you're just doing 1 or 2 pieces for making your home or something else. But when you're putting stuff out there in the world to be used, maybe you're shipping it to New York or California or whatever, the last thing you want to do is send somebody something that you're going to have a problem with the finish. So we've got 2 or 3 tools in the toolbox that I gravitate towards and I steer my clients towards. If they want to go off the reservation, that's fine, with full disclosure that, if something goes haywire because you needed a cerused, waxed, horseshit finish, it's on you.
Clients wouldn't do that, Dave.
No, I know. I don't know what I was thinking of your clients. Anyway, so Hey, one thing that we're kind of excited about here that it hasn't really been rolled out too hard yet is we started doing some exterior furniture. Clients, especially our commercial restaurant clients, have been kind of beating us up about doing some outdoor furniture. And as you guys know, outdoor furniture is a bad idea for wooden furniture. I don't care if it's made out of teak or magic or whatever you want to make it out of. If it's wood, it's going to need some maintenance. But we came up with a design and an idea, and we rolled it out at a couple local brewery clients of ours, and we're going to see how that goes. But it's basically all based upon white oak slats that are custom finished and then attached separately. So we're hoping that the finish formulation that we came up with for that is going to hold up well. But Midwest summers and winters are pretty tough out here, so we'll see. So anyway, just continue the tour. So that's like the finishing room. This is our main work room, and like I said, the guys are out right now doing a delivery, but this is where Eli keeps me from getting it too junked up. So we got a little plywood stashed over here. I've got shelves around the perimeter of the whole building, and we just keep things like offcuts. They're all organized as terms to like there's walnut, there's cherry, there's ash, there's maple. Up here on the tops, we keep all of our very long stock. Like this, for example, is a 22-foot long, 40-inch wide walnut log that we cut and dried a few years ago. And it's too long to put in our other warehouse, so we've made these spaces up on top of all the shelves in the main workroom here so that we can have long items stored up there. And then we keep our regular sawn stock around the perimeter here as well, so we can just pull as we need for things like drawers or regular edge tables or whatever. There's walnut and cherry here, more walnut and cherry. This is a big stack of ash that we just pulled. We're doing a suite of furniture for Salt and Smoke. This is walnut we just took out of the kiln, and we've sort of streamlined our production a little bit. So when we pull stuff out of the kiln, if it's regular sawn like this, we go ahead and face it and then skip plane it and straight line it, and then we inventory it. And it saves us a lot of time down the road doing that in bundles instead of doing it a piece at a time when we're working on a project. So that stuff's just waiting to be put away. And that's kind of it. We've got some machine tools and stuff over here for when we're doing metal work and that kind of thing. We don't do a bunch of metal work here, but we do prototype out stuff, and then our partners over at Henley Forge build all our metal for us and powder coat. And then back here, finishing up the shop tour, this is our main machine room where lots of dust and noise and everything happens. We did just finish, well, I guess around Christmas, putting in our new dust collection system. And you talk about moving to a shop making you more productive. Having centralized dust collection, I thank myself for not doing this 20 years ago because it's changed our life. The air in here is better. There's so much less mess to clean up. We put in this 15-horse Murphy Rogers central dust collection. And, you're still emptying barrels from time to time, but it's really life-changing. I can't say enough good stuff about it. So anyway, this is the main room. Recently acquired, I guess about a year ago, this 42-inch planer and had to totally rebuild it. So now we've got the 42-inch facer, and then we can go to the 42-inch planer. So, we did all that walnut you saw in the last room over there. We did all that in about 3 hours, faced, planed, and then straight line ripped. And it's all ready to be used. And I mean, that's, I don't know, what is that, 4,000 board feet or something. So anyway, that's kind of the way we do it. We've got the smaller, we've got the 42-inch facer here, and then this is the 24-inch joiner, and then we've got the 30-inch planer, and then the 42-inch planer. So
the smaller one, right, Robert?
Yeah. Yeah, Robert's got that 36 Porter or something, or an American?
It's a 30-inch
Whitney. Yeah, I covet that, but I'll tell you, pushing real boards across that 24 is all I want. The self-feed on the 42, that's what I'm talking about.
It's pretty
You
sweet.
can listen to the radio while you run that.
Yep. Okay, we got a couple of questions here. How do you ensure inventory?
Oh, you can't. Honestly, if you've got as much inventory as I have, you can insure it for its real value. So I just sort of roll the dice on that, to be honest with you. I meet with my insurance agent twice a year. We talk about what we've got and really what we can afford to insure. But, you know, like some of these big slabs are, you know, you go looking for a 20-foot, 40-inch wide walnut slab, and you might have to pay 10 grand for it or something. Am I really going to insure that for, you know, 100 grand? You just can't do it. So you gotta roll the dice a little bit. I guess. I don't know. Maybe somebody else has a better idea of how to do
Martin?
it. And we did have a fire a few years ago, and we lost a ton of shit.
Well, I think that you know, I guess I read that question different, as in like, how do you ensure that you actually have it, like, you know, as opposed to insure as in monetizing or
Well,
like that. But you know, a lot like what Dave is saying. I think the interesting thing with the sourcing methods that Dave and I are both using, with, you know, starting with raw timber, getting that from various sources, you know, trees standing out in the forest have no value until the value is assigned by someone like the three of us. So it costs you the same to cut a pine log as it does a walnut log, right? And in the case of more traditional lumber sourcing, you do have middlemen that are now incrementally increasing the value of that by monetizing it, right? There's invoices, there's POs, you know, there's labor applied to that. But I think, you know, Dave and I are the kings of sweat equity into timber. And the question is then, on paper, when do you start applying that to it? And, you know, often lumber is about 1/10 of our final cost in smaller pieces of furniture. So do I insure it now for the cost of the lumber, or do I insure it for the cost of the final piece, which is, I think, what Dave was saying about the $100,000 table? And at what point does it now get that assignment of the value? And I think, you know, Dave's actually our resident attorney.
Don't tell anybody.
You know that? He was a corporate attorney. This is a Georgetown boy right there.
George Washington. Don't tell him Georgetown. Those Georgetown people get mad. I went to GW.
But no, I think that I could have a pretty, you know, logical and honest discussion with anybody about, you know, if my place burns down and I say, look, this is the inventory of the 80,000 board feet that I've got sitting there. This is the value of it, or this is the lost value of it, or the replacement value of it. I think that's fine. But in terms of then saying, I've got this amount of material and this is the actual value of it right now for tax purposes, I have no idea when that flip actually occurs. You know, from a tree in the forest, it costs nothing. I mean, I can add up the amount of material. But I guess the flip side of that, with ensuring that I have stock, you know, currently with all of the craziness that occurred with lumber prices and things like that, mainly construction lumber, but I mean, we saw that a little bit in hardwoods. I think that my plan has always been to just harvest as much lumber as I possibly can, because the growth of the business, then, you know, 18 months down the road when it's ready to use, usually is going to take up that lumber, and I still have to buy a little bit, but not nearly as much. But I mean, I don't think I've ever shied away from, you know, logs. And, you know, in the case that I have 20 or 30 logs a month that need sawing, you better believe I'm going to jump on sawing them, because I don't need them now. I need them down the road.
Yeah.
So,
and Martin, I'm, you know, you and I have always been on the same page with that. Like, you know, you get them when you can get them, and then once they're sawed and drying, they're not eating nothing. As long as you can keep them under roof, you're in good shape. Right. And when you need them, you need them. You know, these guys that don't have any stock on hand, I don't know how they can sleep at night. Like, somebody comes in tomorrow and they say, I need 35 black walnut restaurant tables and I need them in 15 days. I'm like, if you got the money, I got the time. You know what I mean? And the stuff is sitting here just waiting.
Yeah, you know, I think that in the wood world especially, it's more like going to a farmer's market where you got to go in there and say what looks good, as opposed to, you know, buying steel, where I can buy the steel alloy in this, you know, configuration from here, and you're just fine with that. I could be mistaken because I don't buy, a whole shitload of raw steel. But in the case of nice timber, I think it's one of those things where if I've ever really had to look for something, I can never find it.
No, you got to get it when you can get it, and then you steer your clients towards the greatest stuff that you have. I think the farmer's market analogy is very apt because you go and you get what's good that day, and that's what you make your dinner out of.
Yeah,
I think
I agree with all of that, and you all know I got inventory as well. And I never stopped buying.
Yeah.
There was a couple of guys, and I think I told you this, Martin. Martin and I did the first conversation, and from that, a guy in Jersey called me and goes, "Hey, I got a lot of lawn that I want to sell." I drove the hour and a half and purchased it.
Yeah. When you got to strike while the iron's hot, and if there's stuff to be had, you need to jump on it and grab it. You can't just wait till you need it. And I know it makes Stephanie, my business partner, my wife, crazy that we've got so much inventory because she comes from a more pure business background, and you just don't hang on to that kind of inventory in a regular business. But this isn't a regular business. You kind of got to get it when you can get it. I just used some cherry the other week that I cut when I was 14 years old. It's great, but it's been sitting around.
Right. The next question is keep pushing for Robert. Do you have any furniture made by David or Martin? I do not, can't afford it, but Martin makes wonderful butcher block tops that I want. So I need to figure out how we're going to trade.
It's funny you mentioned that because we did 5 or 6 of the butcher blocks, and it was right when I was in the process of moving up here, and Ben got off too quick. But one day you got to have him give you a walk through his house.
Hold it. Let me tell you, I called Ben one night and we're FaceTiming, right?
Yeah.
I said, "Ben, how's your baby?" He goes, "Oh, she's fine." So he starts to show me his new kitchen.
Yeah.
And then he shows me the butcher block that you made for him. He didn't show me the baby. He showed me the butcher block.
Yeah. That sounds like Ben.
Yeah, I think that's the the thing with Ben. To this day, I've known Ben. Oh, geez, probably 5 years, 6 years. I needed a place to park a truck in Jersey one time when I was up there for Architectural Digest, right over there in New York, right? And I just needed a place to stash it, so I just jumped on Instagram to figure out what's going on. So then, like who I knew in the area where I could just call them and say, "Hey, I need to throw my truck there for 2 nights or whatever." And I get there, and Ben says, I'm harvesting tomatoes. You want to come and help me?" And I was like, "Harvesting tomatoes? Okay." And he used to have the entire side of his back shop like with tomatoes in it.
Yeah.
And the sunburn that I got from that harvesting those tomatoes, and then I had to go stand at a trade show, But with Ben, he's to this day, I still have never been able to talk him into cooking me dinner, even though he's professional chef,
Yeah.
But he's got a nice butcher block in his kitchen now.
Yeah, maybe he'll prepare you dinner on it. Who knows?
Still hoping.
Yeah, there is a cost, but still, Gray, you're correct. There is, and it's worth it. But I think I went overboard. It's what I've grown into, but it's what cost me the most in my move is having to move all of that inventory.
Hey, and I can tell you from watching from afar, you went overboard. Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm crazy, but you're a whole nother level. You're a whole nother level.
Listen, I'll admit that. I sometimes really do therapy, but I admit that some things are just a little bit too much.
Yeah. Well, the thing about you, Robert, and you already know this, you're a very inquisitive guy, and you're into a lot of different things, whether it's Volkswagens or brass-bladed fans, antique machinery. You like leatherworking shit. You're going to, do embroidery, and you're going to, upholster something. At a certain point, in terms of hobbies, that's great, but in terms of your business, if we don't focus in on, at least for me, if I didn't focus in on a certain thing, being all over the map all the time, I was not doing great. And I'm sort of impressed with how Ben can do a pergola, but then he can turn around and do fine furniture at the same time. Because I used to do a lot of timber framing, and I gave that up because it would just suck up all the time. And it really wasn't that lucrative either. But building single piece furniture like Martin was talking about, that's how we really sort of got our niche and got started in actually making money and making a living at this thing, was focusing in on that one thing. And it did require me to leave a few things that I really like in the dust. You know, I used to have antique cars, antique motorcycles, and
Yeah.
they kind of had to go the other way.
I have antique cars and bicycles I used to work on. I hadn't touched since I started this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day. You have to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think that through a lot of those passion projects, it's where we've spawned a lot of our, kind of unique offerings with regard to pieces and things like that. So in the case of butcher blocks, the desire to do that was, wanting one for myself. And
Yeah,
there's a few commercially produced butcher blocks out there, which I think from a wood standpoint are pretty shitty. And it's an accepted level of, quality. And in the grand scheme of people that really generally don't have a single piece of solid wood in their house, I guess it's acceptable. But I just got pissed off and annoyed enough with what was out there. And we've then developed a couple of things. So in the case of the butcher blocks that we've got, I've got one here in my place in Chicago right now. I had an extra one, and then Ben, said, hey, new kitchen, make it for me, bring it up with yours. There's a lot of that going on right now with this new set of steamer trunks that we're putting together. I really just love the nostalgia of doing, certain things, whether that be cooking or traveling or whatever it is, and then, looking at sort of this golden age version of that. Whereas, if you need something to cut on, you can go get one of those shitty little plastic mats. It's about 1/16 of an inch thick, and you'd be fine. But, I think the celebration of whether it's cooking or eating or, just basic life, that's really where a lot of our products are coming from these days. And, that sort of like, scatterbrain mentality that I think we all have in some level has boded well for us, I think, also, because now we're taking a lot of these experiences that we just love, and I think other people love, but they don't have that ability to now zero in on it and create something that now makes it a better quality experience. In the case of eating dinner, what's the difference between eating on a Rubbermaid table or one of mine or one of Dave's, right? And, it's just an elevated surface, but in the case that now all of a sudden we take it to this completely other level, there's a value to that is not otherwise there. So, I mean, I like all the goofball endeavors we all get into, the old crap, how much stuff had we all bought at various auctions and showed up at home and thought to yourself, oh, that was too far. But, it's certain things like that then spawn the, meandering path of creativity, design, bullshit, whatever. But, I mean, I think you need to have some of those odd experiences to now create unique things.
Right, and I think the wonderful thing that I like about your butcher block is you look at it, right, and being a woodworker, you're thinking, if I were to do it, that's the way I would like it done.
Right.
And I think that's what attracts you to it. And now, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you say you have one there. Can we see it, or would you rather?
Yeah, should I take the bag of Shake Shack from yesterday off of it, or do you just want to see it?
We want to see it as lived. As lived.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Hey, Robert, you see what Ben says there too?
Yeah.
About buying stuff, which is, I think, a very good point.
Yeah, and it's because some with the wood turning, it was asked, do I have other wood turning stuff, and I don't, and I should.
Yeah. I have very few pieces from other woodworkers as well, and honestly, for me, for years, it was just because I couldn't afford it, and I didn't want to try to run somebody down just because I was a woodworker as well. But There it is.
There it is. So a lot of people have seen us do the big turned tables, the Barolo tables in the past, and they're made out of a bunch of segments. And these are now the offcuts of those segments. So it's a 12-sided segment on the Barolo table. So now this is a solid walnut. Shop Panther here doing his thing.
So you bring the cats with you?
Are you kidding me? They commute with me, man.
All right. I love it.
They take the train with us. So our Cruise Fastest tools in Wenge, usually those have brass kick plates, but I don't really enjoy putting brass kick plates on them, so it never got there. That's actually a stool that I worked on at Thomas Moser Cabinet Makers back in like 08, 09. And so I did a little bit of CAD work with them for about 8, 9 months, and now that was just one that I bought from them, so that kind of kicks around with me. So yeah, you know, there's a drawer that goes both ways here, but in the great Chicago summer, it is now swelled, and I haven't done a whole lot to now make that better, but
Very nice.
needs to be shaved down a little bit. But the one thing I screwed up on this one a little bit, because it was mine, I decided to use a V-groove on the blood trough, and on Ben's I used just a round nose bit. And with the V-groove, there's no way to get all the little crumbs out of the bottom of the V-groove. So, you know, we've updated them over the course of time. I like the little mitering kind of thing that we've got there, but, you know, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but, you know, the nature of the first one. So, anywho.
Yep, good.
Very nice. All right, Jim. So we put in a full hour. Is everybody good with that? Is there something else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good, man. If there's any questions or anything, I'm happy to stay on for a minute. But otherwise, thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Absolutely.
Panel thing a little more often, so I'll see what happens. But you know, this was good coming from a bunch of different perspectives and how we handle things. So I definitely appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks, Robert.
Hey, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
See you, Martin. Take care, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.